Hello Maylinians, this is Teacher Joy, and today we're going to discuss the topic Properties of Operations on Integers. This video tutorial is based on your learning activity sheets in Mathematics 7, Quarter 1, Week 4A. So bring out your activity sheet and turn your Learner's Module to pages 34 to 41. Our learning target for this session is to illustrate and apply the different properties of operations on the set of integers. Before the lesson, let's have some warm-up questions. I have here 2 questions for you to answer. The first question is, which should you put on first, socks or shoes? Timer starts now. What do you think is the answer? Excellent. Of course, you should put on socks first before the shoes. The next question is, which shoes should you put on first? The one on your left foot or the one on your right foot? Timer starts now. What do you think is the answer? Very good. You can choose the 2 in any order, and it doesn't matter at all. That is one example of properties of operations on integers, which is our topic for today. Let us have first the different properties of operations on integers. The different properties of operations on integers are associative, commutative, identity, distributive, inverse, and closure property. The first property of operations on integers is the commutative property. And commutative property states that changing the order of the addends or factors does not affect the sum or product. When we say commutative, we should think it as commute or move around. This property only applies to addition and multiplication. Let us have an example. 2 plus 1 is equal to 1 plus 2. 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. Now let us move 2 and 1. You will have 1 plus 2, which is also equal to 3. Same goes with 3 multiplied by 5, which is equal to 15. And 5 multiplied by 3 is also equal to 15. A plus B is equal to B plus A. A multiplied by B is also equal to B multiplied by A. The next property is the associative property. Associative property states that changing the grouping of numbers being added or multiplied does not change its value. The word associative comes from the word associate, which means to group. Therefore, the associative property is sometimes referred to as the grouping property. It uses parentheses to show which numbers are grouped together. Let us have an example. 2 plus 1 plus 3. We can group the numbers in different ways to get the sum. We can group 2 and 1, or we can group 1 and 3. But changing the groupings will not affect the sum. You will get 6 in both examples. Same goes with 2 times 5 times 3. We can group 2 and 5, or we can group 5 and 3. But we will get the same product, which is equal to 30. Our next property is the distributive property. This property states that when two numbers have been added or subtracted and then multiplied by a factor, the result will be the same when each number is multiplied by the factor and the products are then added or subtracted. The question is, how does this apply? Let us have an example. 2 multiplied by the sum of 1 and 3. We know that 1 plus 3 is equal to 4, and we know that 2 multiplied by 4 is equal to 8. Knowing that the answer is 8, let us see how distributive property works. We take the value outside the parentheses. In this case, it is 2. Then multiply it by the first term inside the parentheses, which is 1. 2 multiplied by 1 is 2, plus we will distribute again 2 to the second term in the parentheses, which is 3. So we will have 2 multiplied by 3, which is equal to 6. Continuing on, we will get 2 from 2 times 1 and 6 from 2 times 3. Then get the sum of 2 and 6, we will get 8. Same goes with this example. Another property of operations on integers is the identity property for addition. This property states that the sum of any number and 0 is the number itself. Let us have an example. 2 plus 0 is equal to 2. Because any number added to 0, the answer is the number itself. The same goes with a plus 0 is equal to a. Another identity property is the identity property for multiplication. It states that the product of any number and 1 is the number itself. Let us have an example. 2 times 1 is equal to 2. Because any number multiplied by 1, the answer is the number itself. Same goes with negative a multiplied by 1, which is equal to negative a. Our next property is the inverse property for addition. It states that the sum of any number and its additive inverse is 0. Let us have an example. 10 plus negative 10 is equal to 0. Negative 10 is the additive inverse of 10. That is why 10 plus negative 10 is equal to 0. Same goes with negative b plus b is equal to 0. b is the additive inverse of negative b. That is why negative b plus b is equal to 0. Aside from the inverse property for addition, we also have inverse property for multiplication, and it states that the product of any number and its multiplicative inverse or reciprocal is 1. Let us have an example. 2 multiplied by 1/2 is equal to 1. 1/2 is the multiplicative inverse or reciprocal of 2. That is why 2 multiplied by 1/2 is equal to 1. Same goes with a multiplied by 1 over a. 1 over a is the multiplicative inverse or reciprocal of a. That is why a times 1 over a is equal to 1. Our last property of operations on integers is the closure property. Closure property states that if a and b are two integers, then a plus b, a minus b, and a multiplied by b is also an integer. Let us have an example. 14 plus 30 is equal to 44. 14 and 30 are both integers. Therefore, if we will add both integers, the answer is also an integer. Same goes with 14 plus negative 5 is equal to 9. Both 14 and negative 5 are integers. Therefore, the answer is also an integer. Let us have some recap. What are the different properties of operations on integers? Good job! The different properties of operations on integers are commutative, associative, distributive, identity, inverse, and the closure property. The next question is, what property is illustrated by the equation 54a plus 0 is equal to 54a? You're right. The answer is identity property. The next question is, what is associative property? Associative property states that changing the grouping of the addends or factors does not affect the sum or product. Last question is, if a represents integer, then a plus negative a is equal to 0 is an example of what property? Excellent. The correct answer is inverse property. At this point, you may turn your activity sheet on enrichment part. Reminder, do not write anything on this activity sheet. Write your answer on a separate long band paper. For enrichment activity number 1, you're going to find and highlight the 6 hidden properties of operations on integers inside the box using the activity sheet provided inside the envelope of this learning activity sheet. Please get only one copy of this activity, then attach it to your answer sheet. For enrichment activity number 2, you're going to write fact if the statement is true or correct, and bluff if the statement is false on a separate long band paper. For enrichment activity number 3, you're going to complete the given table below by writing the correct answers on a separate long band paper. Choose your answers from the box below the table. And for your wrap-up activity, you're going to give 2 examples for each properties of operations on integers. Write your answer on a separate long band paper. I hope you learned something today. If you have questions or clarifications regarding the topic we discussed, feel free to contact your subject teacher through text, call, or post your questions in your official Facebook group or page. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.